We are back at the Undercover Policing Inquiry for the third day of questioning of Tranche 3, Phase 2. Today we'll be hearing from two witnesses, Roger Geffen and GRD, not their real name, a pseudonym. Both were activists with Reclaim the Streets who were targeted by the undercover police officer, Jim Boyling. I'm joined by Donald O'Driscoll from the Undercover Research Group. What do you expect to hear today?
Well, I think today we'll get a solid history of Reclaim the Streets, this incredible grassroots anti-globalization movement that sprang up in London in the mid-90s and went on to organize some of the biggest protests of that era and inspired a global movement. So it'll be an interesting, unique insight into this movement that shook the establishment. It was targeted by Jim Boyling, was also targeted by HN3 Jason Bishop, who we'll hear about later in the inquiry. And so the people, we had Monica yesterday, who was an activist in it, and was targeted by Boyling for a relationship because of that. But today will be more of just who Reclaim the Streets were and the powerful impression they made on everybody.
Yeah, I mean, it should be pointed out that Roger Geffen is not a spokesperson for Reclaim the Streets. As is often the case with the inquiry has chosen who is going to be the witnesses based on its own internal logic. It's not necessarily that Roger Geffen was some sort of leader in the movement or anything. He just happens to be the person who has ended up representing Reclaim the Streets at the inquiry. GRD, a similar sort of situation.
Yeah, like with Roger, he was one of the people around the very beginning, but Reclaim the Streets always had a policy of not having spokespeople who could represent everybody because it was such a large movement. It encompassed so much. It clearly was anti-capitalist, clearly it was anarchistic, or that sort of anti-authoritarian nature, about opening spaces, about creativity, about reimagining the world, but wanting to give people to reimagine their own space to reimagine that world. So I think one of the big issues the inquiry is going to struggle with today is actually trying to force a more conventional hierarchical model. In the same way we will see in the police reports that they will constantly refer to the inner cadre, the originals, the core, whatever thing. It's just because they can't get out of their own mindset. So you can ask, well, if you can't get into the mindset of those you're supposed to be reporting on, is it really reporting? What do you think? So I think we will get a lot of this sort of pushback and go, what are you talking about? This is not how we worked.
Yeah, it's something we've seen throughout the inquiry, isn't it, really? The way that the police really struggled to deal with non-hierarchical, anti-authoritarian, anarchist organizing methods and organizational forms.
Yeah, and it's much harder to control them. So I think this is also why you will also see within the police stuff, there's much more talk about disruption and destruction of groups, because they were uncontrollable. They were just a group of people going, yeah, we fancy doing that today. We're not going to be controlled. We're not going to sit and have, regular meetings where we set out a 10-point program and then we go off and do it and you can follow us easily. It's it was much more spontaneous, and you can see that they really struggled. But we can also see that the only way for them to get in was to be part of the group, to be right in the middle. And this was something we got from Monica yesterday, and I suspect we'll hear more today, is just how deeply they were embedded as the only way. They end up helping us. They screwed us over in many ways. They screwed over actions, but they also did a lot of work on behalf of those campaigns.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, once again, Jim Boyling was the undercover officer with a van. As we heard from Monica yesterday, nobody else in the group had a van. Unsurprising, seeing it was a campaign against car culture. It's not really, but by having a van, he probably did a whole bunch of useful work.
And we even heard that on Monday. It was Carl O'Neary had the vehicle. Oh, that was great. Take us to demos. Just as much as they screwed us over, it's like, at which point did you think you were crossing the line? And also, what we'll probably hear more about today, or related evidence, is how much Boyling was involved in situations where people were getting arrested and prosecuted. For example, the London tube station occupation and stuff. So we'll see just how deeply embedded they were, not just with the van, but everything else.
We were originally meant to be hearing from Monica tomorrow. That's now not going ahead. Sorry, Rosa tomorrow. We heard from Monica already. We were meant to be hearing from Rosa tomorrow. There was another woman who was deceived into a long-term intimate relationship by the undercover officer, Jim Boyling. I ended up having 2 children. She won't be giving evidence tomorrow. Totally understandable. We hope, as we understand it, she'll be able to come back in June and give evidence then. But this will be the last of the activists, the last of the spied upon, who we hear from before Jim Boyling gives evidence himself next week, over 4 days.
Yes. Which, given the amount of work and damage and what he did, this is a remarkable little amount of witnesses. There's whole areas currently covered by RO. Well, no, actually, there's stuff. Yeah, there's various stuff around genetics, things that where people are not being called. Like some of the people who were in the miscarriages of justice which he sparked are not being called. And the question is, why are you doing this? There's so much important stuff to explore that within the inquiry's terms of reference. Miscarriages of justice are precisely there. Understanding how Boyling ended up as a witness in the court case is really important. We need to be hearing from the people who were actually in that court case. Inquiry is not calling them.
Yeah, only three witnesses, non-state, non-police key witnesses, at the core participant witnesses. Just to give you some sort of, like, Peter Francis, the undercover police officer and whistleblower, had 12 civilian witnesses before he gave evidence. And that gives you an idea of the level to which there's not been that level of civilian witness called in the case of Boyling.
Yeah, so that which reminds me, the other thing we're likely to hear about is the Good Easter Hunt case, where Boyling was in the round for a bunch of arrests of hunt sabs. Good Easter is in the Good Easter estate in Essex, is where the hunt used to meet. Essex farmers, I think it was, used to meet. Violent, police proactive in the sense of just arresting anybody who turned up. So we should hear a bit more about that as well. But again, this is something the inquiry needs to be digging much, much deeper into, and they seem to be skirting around it.
Absolutely. There's no shortage of video footage of Reclaim the Streets online. There's lots of videos of the street parties. If you're not familiar, I'm sure lots of people watching this will be very familiar, may have probably attended some Reclaim the Street parties themselves. But if not, I really recommend checking out those videos. I'll put some of those links on Twitter, X. I think some have already been put on Facebook and so on. But if anybody's got any questions when these videos are going on, please comment on the post that you see this on, whatever social media platform this turns up on. We will attempt to answer it. There were some problems yesterday with the sound. Hopefully that's been sorted out. If we sound like Mickey Mouse right now, please let me know. I'll try and come up with a new sound solution. I don't know why sound seems to be such a problem. I mean, yeah. Hopefully, maybe a duck this time rather than a mouse. But yeah, I'll be doing one of these videos during all the breaks, and with lots of other people who were affected, hopefully joining me to talk about what we've heard. Anything else you'd like to add?
No, I think that's enough.
Yeah. All right, thanks for joining us. I'll see you at the first break. Bye for now.